great to be here and great to be following Will, because I think a lot of the changes that we've seen in the satellite sector are in no small part down to the advances that Will has driven. So about 5 years ago, people are saying the sorts of things that Will's just talked about would just not be possible. But through his efforts, it's actually stimulated the whole satellite sector to really kick on, and the rate of innovation, the latest innovation that's been realized has been absolutely massive. So we've turned from a sector that's launching tens of satellites a year to, just in terms of Earth observation satellites, probably going to be about 1,000 launched in the next 5 years. So at Satellite Applications Catapult, we're a not-for-profit technology innovation center focused on driving economic growth through the use of satellite data. Now, our mission is to innovate for a better world empowered by satellites. We spend a lot of our time building demand and interest in this data, and actually there are myriad opportunities for the uses of it. So when I was asked to talk tonight about just one or two applications, I've picked a couple that I think really highlight a few key points for me. Firstly, that it's not about satellite data, it's about all sorts of different data sources, of which satellite data is just one part. Secondly, it's about working together. So we've got to use all the different levers available to us to make these things real. Political, economic, social, technological, environmental, all these things coming together. And then lastly, it needs forward-thinking organizations to really drive through and realize the benefit that is possible. So the application I wanted to talk about mainly tonight is around deforestation and supporting supply chains for commodities to really make sure that those commodities are enabling zero net deforestation targets to be met. So between 2000 and 2012, about 113 million hectares of forest was destroyed. You can see on this chart here, again from 2011 onwards, it's always above 15 million hectares per year. In 2016, 30 million hectares per year, so a record and not great. Let's put it like that. And it's the big four commodities, things like soy, cocoa, palm oil, and wood products that are contributing to a lot of that. The good news is that consumers, that citizens are really starting to care, so the social element has really come into play. And that's led to the fact that large organizations in food and agriculture are really starting to look at their supply chains and are making pledges, commitments to meeting deforestation targets that have been set for 2020. But really, as we move quite rapidly towards 2020, progress has been, unfortunately, rather slow. So Sainsburys and the Consumer Goods Forum have got together to try and address some of these issues for their supply chains. What they're really trying to enable is big behavioural change, recognising that it's going to need standards, interoperability, transparency, ways of working that both protect business data but really allow the understanding of how the supply chains for these quantities that are ending up on the shelves are really contributing to these net deforestation commitments. It's going to take real follow-the-product solutions, so being able to look at both the points of production and then all the way through the supply chain till it meets the shelf. And Sainsbury's initially looking at cocoa, so the full sort of bean to bar process. And what they're doing is bringing remote sensing data, so satellite, LiDAR, UAVs, and combining that with unique barcoding, both physical and virtual, to allow that, that tracking through the supply chain to take place. The vision is true follow-the-product solutions that can allow consumers and organizations like Sainsbury's to be able to make real make or buy decisions based on deforestation commitments. So they've brought together organizations, the Catapult, so we're working with them because of our access to the satellite community, that sort of data, to bring that to bear. An organization called Focafet, who bring unique virtual and physical barcoding, and that'll be at the heart of the data management system. And then they're really bringing all that together to help deliver the benefits. And Will mentioned illegal fishing. So we've already had experience working with Sainsbury's to support the provenance of the fish that hits their shelves. So again, similar issues insofar as fragmented supply base, and in terms of actually making sure that we can deliver the data, combining all sorts of different data sets together to give the consumer the real comfort and knowledge that
that fish has been sourced, consumed ethically, that we can do so again with these Big Four products. I was also asked to talk briefly about emissions monitoring and air pollution. I think Will's talked to us about some of these visible images that are being produced from satellites. So in addition to that, you've got things like infrared, hyperspectral, multispectral satellites that can deliver complementary information, allow you to extract information about the atmosphere, about the land, about the things you're looking at, that give a complementary set of information that can, again, really help us as we look to protect our planet moving forward. So we've got asset owners, investors that are very interested in understanding the emissions from their assets. We've got citizens and cities that are interested in air pollution. But I think the point I'd really like to make here is that these applications, they've been possible for a long time. There have been pilots of these sorts of things, but it's been very, very difficult to get public funding, let alone private funding for these things. But because each of the levers, political, social, environmental, and technological, have all started to change at the same time, these are now becoming possible. So in the case of air pollution, you've got the citizens saying, we care, you've got cities saying, we care. The world of satellites have evolved, which means that the costs have come down, the quality of the product's improved. So all of a sudden, what wasn't possible is possible because we've all been working together. And I think that is a really important point. You look at some of these organisations down the bottom, GHGSat, they're funded by the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative. EarthSense, they're raising venture capital, so private venture capital money going into a company that's looking at air pollution. This would not have been possible 2 years ago, let alone 5 years ago. So it really is a very exciting time for how technology and satellites can really go towards helping the planet. But the key point is really that satellites are a technology. Technology alone will not achieve the impact that we're looking for. It's only by doing it together that real impact will be achieved. So we've got to make sure that we work together, we make the most of each of these levers, political, social, economic, environmental, technological, evolve them all together so that really we can innovate for a better world empowered by satellites.